We're always taught that being good with money is all about the numbers, the math, the spreadsheets, the complex formulas. But what if that's not the whole story? Not even close. Today, we're diving into Morgan Housel's incredible book, The Psychology of Money, which makes a powerful case that your financial success has way less to do with how smart you are and way more to do with how you behave. And it all kicks off with a real-life story that, honestly, sounds more like a riddle. So let's just jump right in. Picture two completely different guys. One is a janitor, a gas station attendant, living a quiet life in rural Vermont. The other, he's a top finance executive, a Harvard MBA, working at a huge firm like Merrill Lynch. Now, here's the thing. One of them secretly built an $8 million fortune. And the other one, he went completely bankrupt. So who do you think was who? I mean, look at this. On one side, you've got Ronald Reed, a guy who spent his days fixing cars and sweeping floors, living a super simple life. And on the other, you have Richard Viscone, basically the poster boy for Wall Street success. I'm talking business awards, a massive 18,000 square foot mansion. The contrast is just, it's night and day, right? And here's where the story gets wild. It was the janitor, Ronald Reed, who became the multimillionaire. When he passed away in 2014, everyone was stunned. This humble guy who nobody gave a second thought to left millions of dollars to his local hospital and library. And get this, there was no secret, no lottery win, no big inheritance. It was all just from saving and investing patiently for a very, very long time. So what about Richard Viscone, the guy who had everything going for him, the fancy degree, the big job, the connections? Well, when the 2008 financial crisis hit, his whole world just imploded. He was leveraged to the hilt with massive debt and risky investments. He lost everything, declared bankruptcy, and that giant mansion of his, it was sold off in a foreclosure auction. So how on earth is that possible? How does a regular guy with zero financial training crush a world-class expert? It's because doing well with money isn't a hard science like physics. It's a soft skill. And that means your behavior, things like your patience, your emotions, your discipline, is so much more powerful than any textbook or spreadsheet. And this quote from the book just nails it. Viscone, the so-called genius, completely lost control, and it was a disaster. Meanwhile, Ronald Reed, just an ordinary person, kept his behavior in check for decades. And that right there is the key lesson. Mastering your own behavior is the single most important financial skill you can ever have. Okay, so to get a handle on that behavior, we first have to understand something really important that most people get wrong. And that's the huge difference between being rich and being wealthy. Trust me, they are not the same thing at all. See, being rich is about your income right now. It's the stuff we can see, the fancy car, the designer clothes, the huge house. But wealth? Oh, wealth is hidden. Wealth is the money you didn't spend. It's the income you saved and invested instead. Wealth is what really buys you freedom and flexibility and options in life. Just think about it for a second. When you see someone roll by in a $100,000 car, what does your brain automatically think? Wow, that person must be wealthy, right? We all do it. But here's the reality check. The only piece of information you actually have is that they have $100,000 less than they did before they bought that car. That's it. You're seeing their richness, but you have absolutely no idea what their wealth looks like. That's the key difference. And this brings us right back to our two guys. Richard Viscone was incredibly rich. His income let him buy all the expensive stuff. But Ronald Reed, he became wealthy. He decided not to spend his money today so he could have more freedom and security tomorrow. His wealth was completely invisible until the very end. So how did Ronald Reed's wealth get so big? It wasn't because he was some secret stock-picking wizard. Nope. He just used the most powerful and, honestly, the most overlooked force in finance: time. Compounding is like magic, but it only works if you give it decades to do its thing. The first few years, kind of boring. And that's why so many people give up. But if you can stick it out and survive all the crazy ups and downs of the market without panicking, it can create something absolutely incredible. So let's be super clear here. Ronald Reed's financial superpower was not his brain. It was his patience. He just stayed in the game for an incredibly long time. He didn't need to hit home runs. He just needed to consistently not strike out and let time do all the heavy lifting for him. But there's another piece to this puzzle. While Reed was patiently building his quiet fortune, Foscone was always pushing for more and more and more. And this brings us to our third huge psychological skill, knowing what enough means for you. Or, as the book puts it, learning how to get the goalpost to stop moving. This is honestly one of my favorite lines from the entire book because it totally changes how you think about saving. It's not a math equation, it's a psychology battle. That constant urge to spend more money as you make more money, that's your ego talking. It's about wanting to show other people you're successful. So a little humility can literally make you wealthier. Fuscone's appetite just never stopped growing. He had millions, but it wasn't enough. That constant hunger drove him to take on bigger and bigger risks, and a mountain of debt to pay for his lifestyle. Sure, he looked incredibly rich, but it made him financially fragile. So when that 2008 crisis hit, he had zero room for error, and his whole financial life just shattered. So what do we do with all this? The story of the janitor and the executive really proves one thing. Building wealth isn't rocket science. It's really about mastering a few key, simple behaviors. So let's just lay out what that looks like. Okay, here it is. First, live below your means. It's about less ego, more wealth. Second, be incredibly patient. Let time do its magic. Third, you have to define what enough actually means to you, because trying to keep up with others is a game you'll never, ever win. And finally, just remember, you don't need to be a genius. You just need to behave well with your money. And here's the most empowering part of all of this. You can't control what the stock market does tomorrow. You can't control the economy, but you have 100% control over your own behavior. Your humility, your patience, your definition of enough, those are the things that will truly determine your financial success. In the end, the story of Ronald Reed and Richard Fuscone has nothing to do with intelligence or education or even income. It's all about behavior, stretched out over a lifetime. The most powerful financial asset you have is your time. So the only real question left is, how are you going to use it?